Parenthetical documentation is an important skill for students to learn when writing research papers. It's how to cite your sources within the paper that you have written. Let's start by locating where the parentheses are on your keyboard. To open a parentheses, you hold the Shift key and press the number 9. To close the parentheses, you hold the Shift key and press the number 0. When you format a citation, whether it's a quote or a paraphrase, you end your sentence completely, and at the end, you open the parentheses, put in the name or the last name of the person who wrote the source, close the parentheses, and then put the period, as you can see here with Smith. Same thing for paraphrasing. This may not be a quote, but it's still their idea. You're still citing the source. Open the parentheses, last name, parentheses, then the period. Critical reminder, the period goes at the end. This is because the citation is a part of that sentence that you just wrote. So what goes in the citation? More often than not, what goes in the parentheses is the author's name, as you can see here with Smith. This is usually what's sticking out on your works cited because you've indented the second, third, or fourth lines of your works cited page. The name or the last name is usually what sticks out. Another thing to remember though is if you're using a print source, you want to also add the page number. You may be asking yourself, what happens if there's no last name? Some of my sources start with a title. So if there's no last name, you use the next piece of information, which is usually the title. But be sure to put it in quotations as you see it in your works cited. Example, open parentheses, quotation, first words, end quotations, end parentheses, then put your period. This may seem a little cumbersome at first, but once you get the hang of it, it will start coming more naturally. This is what it should look like in your paper. The important things to remember are that the citation is a part of your sentence. So you end your quote or paraphrase, open up the parentheses, put in your citation, close your parentheses, and then you put your period. When you use a print source, remember that you also need to add the page number. You don't need a comma or a period, just the last name and the page number. When you don't have an author's name, use the first 2 words of the title. Don't forget that that goes in quote marks. Parenthetical documentation is critically important because you are giving credit to those people who wrote the sources that you're taking the information from. It's not only important because you're acknowledging someone who's given you information, but you also don't want to be caught plagiarizing. So I hope in the future that you will use the parenthetical documentation to make sure you've cited your sources correctly.